on our first HOLA Spotlight with the wonderful theme of the month, We Are Indigenous. And it is my honor and pleasure to welcome Cristina Cortez from Coopdanza. Welcome, Cristina. How are you today?
Hola, Inma. I'm honored too. I'm honored to be the first one, and I'm very thankful that the first subject is We Are Indigenous too, because Latinos, we are Indigenous too. So I really feel very proud and I'm very grateful too.
Me too, because this is the mission of the HOLA Spotlights, is to celebrate our wonderful and beautiful diversity, because in our diversity there is our blessing, right? That we are so multicultural. So I have only a brief bio because Cristina is an amazing woman with many talents and activist, which is going to tell us more about that. But just to give you a little bit of her background, Cristina Cortez is a bilingual arts educator, choreographer, and an environmental activist of Muisca descent from Colombia. She has studied on philosophy and literature at Universidad de los Andes in Colombia and created Coopdanza Inc. in 2010. Cristina is an experienced international dance teacher specialized on minorities and indigenous communities. So welcome, Cristina. And I know this is a very brief biography, so let's start talking a little bit more about yourself. Tell us about yourself and why did you decide to found Coopdanza? Go ahead.
Well, Coopdanza, actually, it was a company I had in Colombia before I went back to the United States, because I arrived in the 80s, in the beginning of the 80s, to study dance. And I went back to Colombia 11 years, and I returned to New York in 2003. And when I returned to New York, I was previously attempted to do like a co-op for dancers in Colombia that failed. And then it was so much effort that we did that I decided to call the company the way it was called, the way the co-op was supposed to be, that it was Coopdanza. It was a co-op for dancers. So I decided to call my company, and I wanted to make a statement to leave it in a Spanish name, Coopdanza, no Co-op Dance, because it could be, if I was in the US, call it Coopdanza. But anyway, they call it Coopdanza in English, but that's okay. We left it like that. But Coopdanza right now is not only a dance company. We are not really a dance company. We are an indigenous organization. Our main activity, everything runs about dance and around dance, but Coopdanza has some other programming, not only artistic. We make like indigenous festivals. We were supposed to be in the second festival. We did the first one in 2016, associated with CUNY and with all these scholars and indigenous artists. And we attempted to do the second one in October 2020. And obviously, well, I couldn't arrive back from Colombia, and we started to merge into virtual festivals, but those festivals are with academic exchange, from activists, scholars, indigenous, not indigenous, but always about indigenous issues and indigenous communities. So right now, for example, in November, we're gonna have, at the end of November, the last academic exchange, and the presential real festival. All the funders allowed us to move it to March 2021, hoping that everything finally is gonna be okay and we're gonna have our festival. So yeah, we do, actually, I just wanted to say we have two organizations, two sister organizations. We have an organization incorporated in New York State as an indigenous organization called Coopdanza in USA, and we have another organization here in Colombia that is an indigenous organization too. So we have different budgets, different funding, same artistic work, same kind of activities in two different countries. So that's Coopdanza.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tú eres una luchadora imparable, and that's why, you know, the moment I have the honor of meeting you in person, fighting also for women's rights, and you are wearing purple. I love it, you know, because that's a whole other topic, right? We talk about women in the indigenous communities, right? And I'm sure you highlight them as well, right? In your work. But now let's go back to the beginnings, right? So when did you first knew you wanted to dance? When did you feel that call, that passion? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, I always loved dance since I was little, but actually I gotta blame my mother. She didn't allow me, she didn't support me in that passion. She said I would be even an sloppier student. So she said, she never allowed me, she never let me go to those groups at school or go to a ballet school or nothing like that. So I just ended up like forgetting about, and I moved more into kind of like a political student sort of movement, and I was joining this media independent group. We were shooting in some place here in Colombia. I was already 25 years old, and something happens, it's very cinematographic. I fell from the tower, from the bells of a tower of a church, 15 meters, 5 stories. Wow. I fell to the floor. And while I was falling, it was not free fall, it was free fall. It was between the space that is between the stairways. While I was falling, I thought, and I felt in 1 second, because I thought I was gonna die, I said, wow, I'm gonna die at 25, and I never danced. That's the only thing I remember I thought while I was falling. I didn't dance. So I didn't die. When I recovered, I ended up in these Pilates classes with dancers, and I started taking my first ballet class at 25. And that was it. I mean, at 25, dancers at that time in the 80s, they were thinking about retirement or teaching, not starting to dance. It wow. has been a really difficult journey because it was very late for me. But here I am. Most of my classmates at that time, no one is dancing. The only one who's dancing is me. And but I'm coming from a activist political background, let's say. So some way life just made me close a circle, and that's why I consider my work activism. I do activism with art, with multimedia, arts, and dance. And we basically focus on environmental issues related to indigenous communities. We work very close with a lot of indigenous communities, obviously in the beginning with all the Native American communities in New York. And now I came back to Colombia, and I'm back and forth, but I wanted to be more inspired and sort of connect more with my own indigenous communities in Colombia. That's why I'm here, but I'm gonna be back and forth between New York and Colombia.
And we wait for you here with open arms. We miss you, we love you. And what a wonderful example, right? Like when you are born with a passion, it doesn't matter where life takes you, the passion finds you. So, I mean, I'm sorry you have to go through the fall, right? To make the connection, but I couldn't be prouder. And this is a wonderful example too for people. If you have a passion, it doesn't matter exactly. If you're in your 90s, go for it. The passion is there for you. So,
and especially dance, because people think yes. that if you're not early dance, so you cannot do it. No, if I could do it at 25 with flat feet and lordosis, Anyone could do it.
No, and I imagine all the pain you were going through, recovering from the fall. So this is a call for action, right? Not only for activism, but a call for action in your own life. Because how can we be of service to others if we are not servicing ourselves, right? Connecting to our own passion. So that takes me to the next question. So I know, like 100% of your work now is committed to the indigenous communities, right? Did you, when you first realized, okay, I wanna dance, right? Did you make that commitment to the indigenous themes immediately, or how did that come into your life? So tell us a little bit about that.
No, not at all. I had a teacher in Bogota that he was just 6 months older than me, because anyone could be older than me in dance. And my teacher, she was like a little princess that started dancing at 5-year-old. She was coming from New York. And she told me, she said, if you want to do something in dance, you have to leave. You have to go to New York. You're not going to be on stage that much. You're probably going to end up being teaching or choreographing, but you got to go. And I did. I did. I went to New York. And anyway, related to the age, I just wanted to say a little thing. Anyway, from the 80s to here, like, let's say it's almost 38 years, but dance and all the physical disciplines, they have changed so much. The way they used to teach ballet and dance 40 years ago, and the way the whole thing evolves right now, you can see people my age on stage right now, and that didn't happen 40 years ago, because dance have become so healing, so therapeutic, holistic. We take care of our bodies completely different than the way our teachers used to do 40 years ago. And that's the reason why we I do class with my dancers. I do class every day online from a professional. 40 years ago, people couldn't afford to do that, because the way we treated dance was to finish and kill a body, not to make it survive for more years. So much water has passed under that bridge, thinking about holistic, integral, whole way of taking care of our bodies. And that's why things are different now.
And we are so happy that changed, right? We're happy for teachers and choreographers like you.
Yeah, but in theater it happens the same thing. Everything with East-West has mixed, and now everybody's a yogi, and everybody's, it didn't used to be like that before.
Wow, no, this is amazing. So have you had any mentors in your life who, and when I mean a mentor, it could be a dance mentor or a personal mentor who has kind of supported your journey for you, and how are you now that to others? So
well, yeah, I could say this person, Michelle Ceballos, my friend, I could say she's my mentor, because if it wasn't because she was so clear from the beginning that I could make it in New York, but not here in Colombia at that age with no background at all, she was right. She was right. And I'm very grateful for her, because she sent me to a place that is a marvelous, unique place that is like an island in the middle of United States. And I always say, like they said, you live in the US? No, I live in New York. That's different. I don't live in the US. I don't want to live in the US. I want to be in New York. And that's a different entity. And I thank her for sending me there, let's say. Very much, I could say she's my mentor, and she's part of the board of the organization. We're not really that much connected anymore. She lives in Arizona. But yeah, I could say she was my initial mentor in dance and in life at that moment.
So what would you tell to either, your students or people who are seeing this, who are feeling inspired, right? To bring their art, their passion into activism? Because I also want you to talk a little bit about your work that, I never seen it before until I read your bio, artivism, right? So I'm sure you are inspiring a lot of people who are seeing this. So what would you tell them when they see, okay, nobody cares, like all that negative thinking? How would you switch that? When, because I know it's it's not mainstream, it's very independent, right?
Yeah,
And it's going against, so what would you tell people?
I would say, like, we're talking about obstacles or challenges. Let's say, I would say is the struggle between the mission and the trend, because you could be clear what do you want to do with the rest of your life, but the trend and the establishment is completely different, and then it's very hard, really hard. Like when we started looking for funding, we created the organization and we started looking for funding, and it's in contemporary dance. I mean, if you are, I'm gonna say a word that is a Spanish word and it's almost not used in English, dilettante. That's the way I can frame or label in general the contemporary dance scene in the world in general, you know? It's more dilettante than you are, more funding than you get, because they are all like, wow, that's really interesting, and more complicated and confusing it could be. Is more popular for funding. That's the kind of funding that is very easy when you don't understand at all. We don't do that. We do art for indigenous communities, for people who's around indigenous communities. Even if they are very complicated subjects, we try to do like an educational sort of background so people understand, because our mission is to teach and to bring back from ancestral cosmovision concepts, bring it to people, to anyone, to intellectuals, to environmentalists, to indigenous, to students, to everybody, to people. And that's our experience when we do shows. Everybody, anyone comes, and we can see how people start like getting the curiosity of learning, because usually people don't know what is, I mean, an indigenous, they associate it now with people that create trouble and that's it, you know? But I find that this activism with the environmental issues is a very nice combination, because it makes friends, it makes allies. For example, I'm gonna put an example. We have a very good relationship with the Spanish Benevolent Society in New York.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's called La Nacional. And I don't go to their Desfile de la Hispanidad. No, I don't go to that. But they are, I mean, if you create like a tolerance and a common ground, they have been great allies and help, and we support. That's where I met you, if you remember.
Yes.
And they could say, but listen, I mean, those are the Spaniards that massacred your ancestors. Yeah, but I mean, time is past, and we right now in this survival mode that we are, that we need to save the earth. They are great allies, and it's a great support. It's a great venue, and their fans are my fans, and this is great. We don't have to. You need to measure conjunctural. You need to make conjunctural accords. You know.
No, and I'm so glad you are mentioning them, because they are all about inclusion as well, and I'm happy also. That's why I really wanted to be part of the HOLA diversity advocacy group, to make sure we include everybody, we love everybody, and they laugh with me when I say I only speak the language of love, because that's where the heart is, right? And unfortunately, history is very sad, you know, but we cannot go back 500 years, but we can be good people now. And that's where the focus should be. And I'm so grateful you are mentioning this too. So thank you, because I said, not because, you know, Spain also did some good things, you know, it's not only bad, right? They were at least one good person, right? In every chapter of history. So here we are concentrating on the good, and thank you for mentioning Alice. That's what HOLA is too. We are all about inclusion, celebrating our enrichedness, our diversity, and how can we all together continue to create art that educates, right? So that make us aware, because sometimes they say, okay, I love this topic, but how can I know more about it, right? So it's up to me to find something. So now that's what it leads me to the next question. So tell us, what projects are you working on right now? Or if you have a favorite project in the past, how can we find you? How can we educate ourselves? Because what you do is passionate. I have the honor of witnessing it, of seeing it live, and also on the wonderful videos you have seen us. And I really would love everybody to recommend this. So tell us about your projects.
Well, I can't say we don't have like favorite projects. We each had a moment and like a specific conjunctural importance. It depends. All what I have to say, and this is gonna sound very political, is like
that's okay. That's okay. Yes.
the activism that we used to do in the States with Native American communities, for example. We had 3 different pieces about the black snake. That's based, the name is based in an indigenous prophecy that it says that they said they envisioned that a black snake was gonna come to the communities to dirty the land, to dirty the water, to dirty the food, the crops, and then that's the way they call. So we did like 3 different pieces about the black snake, one for children with Quetzalcoatl, and another one, Tatanka versus the black snake, and everything was based on against the fossil fuel industry in the States and in the world. If I would come to Colombia and pretend to talk against fracking, I would be dead long time ago.
Wow.
Because in Colombia, an art teacher, without preaching anything, just because he's teaching, that person gets killed.
Wow.
So it's so sad, because we have to make pieces in Colombia that are about cosmovision, ancestral. Everything has to be so abstract, because if I would be denouncing fracking in Colombia, really, I'm telling you, I would be dead long time ago.
We need you alive, so you can continue to create.
You do that in the States, but you cannot do that in a country like Colombia, where there's so many dark forces, sometimes supported by their own government and by their own legal army. You cannot. So it's like, it's okay. I mean, you just have to reinvent, like they said. You just have to put things in a completely different narrative, just because security.
Well, and we send a message of love, of hope, because we need to do what we need to do to be alive, right, and to survive. But I'm sure even within those constraints, you are still creating and educating. So people who are watching this who say, I really want to know more about all of this, where can they find you? Where can they find you on the internet? I know we're going to post that, but also say, Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we have a website. We are in Facebook. I have my own Facebook. It's called Coopdanza Inc., but it's under my name. In Instagram, we ask Coopdanza Inc., and we have different Instagrams that are more about activism, and we have another Instagram that is more about the artistic production. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to publish it, actually, we're going to premiere a piece now at the end of November. It's called Acabal, and it's a Mayan name, and it's exploring duality on indigenous cosmovision. And in that piece, we have a Mayan section, we have a Wayuu section that is a Colombian culture, we have a Muisca section that is a Colombian culture, we have another Wiwa section, and then the end of the piece is about contamination. It's about the environmental disaster. But we end up the piece in a really hopeful, optimistic way. It's in a way, it's just 3 characters. They change and they move from different animals, but at the end, the plant the animal and the human, they are the same. Actually, it's a piece that most of the dancers are on point shoes, men and women. And there's no difference between the men. We believe in no borders, no genders, no nothing. And it has to be, like Mayans say, a universe where everybody has the same importance. The nature, the animals, and the humans, they are in the same level, and they are the same equal in the universe. And that's what the piece is about, let's say. We're gonna be streaming free. So I am going to take advantage of this HOLA connection because anyone can see it. And it doesn't need to know a language or to learn because it's very clear, you know. We don't need translations for that piece. It's a dance piece with all these video installation. So I would let anyone know about how to see this piece.
So please let us know, because I think that's a great first step. You know, like if I'm an everyday person who, let's put it out there, right? Who is not an artist, who is not connected to this, but we want everybody, right? So the person can say, what can I do for Mother Earth? What can I support? So I think a first great step is to watch your show. I mean, I'm gonna call it a show. It's not really a show. It's a combination of performance, dance, visuals, right? Mm-hmm.
It's a live dance within a video installation. That's a format that I use a lot before. We keep changing. We have some dance pieces just with these shapes in the floor. We always change a lot the way we get to the public, to the audience. We have pieces just for museums, pieces that need like a black box and a big projector. We try a lot of different things. We have pieces for children, but what we always do is to educate. And actually what I have to say is, like, the lesson is, like, more tolerant you are, more farther that you get. I gave you the example with the Spanish Benevolent Society. We have had shows in Philly, in the Arch Street Meeting House, in the headquarters of the Quakers. Very progressive, very intellectual, really educated people. And if you were thinking, but what are you gonna do? This is a religious community. Yeah, but in every community, there's different sections, there's different sectors, there's different interests. You just gotta open up your mind. And they found us, they took us there. We had a great show there. If you open up your mind, you can have shows in the places where you never imagined you're gonna have them. Just because you need tolerance. You can do activism with tolerance. Like my husband is American, and I fight a lot, and then he says, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. He keeps repeating that, but it's true.
True.
You really catch more flies with honey.
Well, and that takes me. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead. Finish.
No.
That takes me to what I really wanted to say, that it's an everyday practice to practice this language of love, because sometimes we might think, oh, they're not going to be interested in what I do. No, they are. Like, you are creating with love, with a mission to educate, to make us all more aware, more embracing of, like you said, the mission of your last dance performance, right? That you are going to stream, which is, we are all equally important in this Mother Earth, in this universe, and we truly are. And we need to treat not only humans with respect, but trees and waters and rocks and animals and mountains, because we are not like the masters of this planet, right? We are the visitors. Mother Earth was here before. At least that's my personal opinion. So I want to ask you, any departing words of wisdom, anything you would really like to share? What's your message for humanity? Where do you find your strength? Because I know It's not easy to be on this journey, but any departing words of inspiration for the millions who are gonna see this and support you and continue to support the journey?
No, I mean, I could say that I don't really I think everything that I wanted, not from the beginning, because when you're starting dance, you just want to learn to dance and that's it, that's your priority. Once you sort of overcome a little that part and you're thinking, okay, what do I want to say? What is my message? So that's where I feel very satisfied with everything that happened almost in 40 years. Regarding my artistic process or the development of our narrative, again, I'm going to repeat, we learned that it's better to have allies than enemies, that we can have differences, but still we can have points of interest, and tolerance is the key. And basically, that's what I know what I want to do with the rest of my discourse, let's say. It's clear, we are clear in what side, what do we want to support, and it's an endless subject. Really, it is an endless subject because it could be more political, it could be more mystical, more mythological, it could be so many things, this subject. At some point, I stopped looking at the mirror and I didn't have an indigenous raising. Even that I looked pretty indigenous, I didn't have an indigenous raising. Actually, when I came back to New York and in 2005, I met these Lakota activists. It's sort of like a big veil. I just found that this is what I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I am very grateful for that. And then, as I say, we have been working with Native Americans, with Lakotas, with Lakotas, like they say, Lakotas, with Navajos, with Taínos, with Cherokees, with Mapuches, here with all the Cauca people, the marvelous Consejo Regional Indígena del Cauca. We have had 2 different projects with them, funded by US entities. We have had projects here in Colombia. It's just a blessing, you know, that with this subject, we just make more friends. And the way I say is like we are an instrument to work with them and help them to take the word out and to unveil all these marvelous mysteries, ancestral knowledge that people don't have the access to it. So we are an instrument. We are just facilitating. I just feel like a facilitator, no more. And every time we learn more. The husband of one of my first partners in this subject, long time ago, these Chilean people, and they said, this is a journey of recovery. And that's the way I see my career. It's a journey of recovery. It's una travesía de recuperación del saber, de la mitología, de la historia y de lo que los indígenas tienen para enseñarnos. Because they are the champions of tolerance, really. They are the champions of tolerance. So basically that's the way I think. That's the last thing I want to say.
I just wanted to make sure, because I know you have a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom. You are very inspiring, and you know I wanted to make sure you say everything you feel you need to say, and that our wonderful audience would like to hear. You know, also, so we can continue to educate ourselves. And I couldn't be prouder of being the host of this wonderful spotlight with such a wonderful. First of all, great woman. I know there is no gender, but to me, you know, I feel attached to being a woman and defending our rights. But to being with you, in this mission to bring activism to be instruments of peace, of loss, of love, of tolerance, which is we are all together in this world. Let's just have fun. That's my word. Let's just have fun, because everybody has so much to offer. So Cristina, we love you. We appreciate so much your time. We know you're in the middle of tech rehearsals for your production, and we send you from New York. Tons of love, positive energy. Send our love to all the indigenous communities in Colombia. We love them too. We're here for the planet to highlight that we are all one. So thank you so much, and all the best of the best. Keep in touch with us.
I'm really honored.
Thank you. So thank you to everybody who connected with us today on our first HOLA Spotlight on the month of celebrating We Are Indigenous. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being with us. And keep celebrating. Life is a beautiful journey. Thank you.